We have only one Earth, our living planet, that helps sustain life. We are warned, this life system is in crisis. Fresh water, clean air, good soil, the things we need to stay alive. Sustaining our environment has led us down the road to a movement known as environmentalism. Yet, a strange thing happened. Environmentalism came to a fork in the road. And while the rhetoric took one route, the agenda took another.
I want you to know I'm proud to stand with a man who wakes up every day thinking about your future and the future of Jersey, and that's your governor, John Corzine.
What's happened is that President Calderon, I think, has been very bold and rightly has decided that it's gotten carried away, that the drug cartels have too much power, are undermining and corrupting huge segments of Mexican society. And so he has taken them on in the same way that when Elliot Ness took on Al Capone back during Prohibition, oftentimes that causes even more violence, and we're seeing that flare up.
Do you think it's a threat to the United States security?
I don't think that it is what would be called an existential threat, but it is a serious threat to those border communities, and it's gotten out of hand.
I want to discuss an issue that's very important to the President this morning. The steps we are taking on both sides of the border, working with our Mexican partners to support the Mexican government's campaign against the violent cartels and to reduce contraband in both directions across the border. Today, Department of Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano, Deputy Secretary of State Jim Steinberg, and U.S. Deputy Attorney General David Ogden will lay out the administration's comprehensive response to the situation along the border. With today, Department of Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano, Deputy Secretary of State Jim Steinberg, and U.S. Deputy Attorney General David Ogden will lay out the administration's comprehensive response to the situation along the border.
Under the President's leadership and together with the State Department and DHS, the Department of Justice stands ready to take the fight to the Mexican drug cartels. The President has directed us to take action to fight these cartels, and Attorney General Holder and I are taking several new and aggressive steps as part of the administration's comprehensive plan. Those steps include the following. DOJ's Drug Enforcement Administration, which already has the largest U.S. drug enforcement presence in Mexico, with 11 offices in that country, is placing 16 new DEA positions in southwest border field operations, specifically to target Mexican trafficking and associated violence. DOJ's Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives is increasing its efforts by adding 37 new employees in 3 new offices, using $10 million in Recovery Act funds, and redeploying 100 personnel to the southwest border in the next 45 days to fortify its Project Gunrunner, which is aimed at disrupting arms trafficking between the United States and Mexico. ATF is doubling its presence in Mexico itself, from 5 to 9 personnel working with the Mexicans specifically to facilitate gun tracing activity which targets the illegal weapons and their sources in the United States.
Whole date, actually. We spent the whole day together. He was showing me all facets of his character, so we went to the Art Institute.
Art guys out there, it impresses people.
Yes,
it shows.
He showed his cultural side, and then we took a nice long walk
Kind of romantic.
Michigan Avenue. And did we go to the movie first?
Well, yeah, we didn't have dinner. We actually had lunch.
Oh, we had lunch
at the Art Institute. There's a little courtyard with a little fountain.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, it was very nice.
Yeah.
And then we walked.
Then we walked. So our first meal was a lovely lunch. It was very nice.
And then we went to see Do the Right Thing.
Spike Lee had just come out.
It just come out.
Showed all the sides. He was hip, cutting edge, cultural, sensitive. The fountain, nice touch. the walk, patient.
Take tips, gentlemen.
We've got to do our part in reducing the flow of cash and guns south
As they wage this difficult but necessary fight. The United States will remain a full partner in this effort. We will work to make sure Mexico has the support it needs to dismantle and defeat the cartels, and the United States will also meet its responsibilities by continuing our efforts to reduce the demand for drugs and continuing to strengthen the security of our shared border, not only to protect the American people, but to stem the illegal southbound flow of American guns and cash that helps fuel this extraordinary violence.
I have not backed off at all from my belief that the assault weapons ban made sense, and I continue to believe that we can respect and honor the Second Amendment rights in our Constitution, the rights of sportsmen and hunters and homeowners who want to keep their families safe to lawfully bear arms, while dealing with assault weapons that, as we now know here in Mexico, are helping to fuel extraordinary violence. Violence in our own country as well. Now, having said that, I think none of us are under any illusion that reinstating that ban would be easy. And so what we focused on is how we can improve our enforcement of existing laws. Because even under current law, trafficking illegal firearms, sending them across a border, is illegal. That's something that we can stop. And so our focus is to work with Secretary Napolitano, Attorney General Holder, our entire Homeland Security team, ATF, Border Security, everybody who's involved in this, to coordinate with our counterparts in Mexico to significantly ramp up our enforcement of existing laws. And in fact, I've asked Eric Holder to do a complete review of how our enforcement operations are currently working, and make sure that we're cutting down on the loopholes that are resulting in some of these drug trafficking problems. Last point I would make is that there are going to be some opportunities where I think we can build some strong consensus. I'll give you one example, and that is the issue of gun tracing, or the tracing of bullets and ballistics and gun information that have been used in major crimes. That's information that we are still not giving to law enforcement as a consequence of provisions that have been blocked in the United States Congress. And those are the areas where I think that we can make some significant progress early. That doesn't mean that we're steering away from the issue of the assault guns ban, but it does mean that we want to act with urgency promptly now, and I think we can make significant progress.
However, there is one issue where Mexico needs your cooperation, and that is stopping the flow of assault weapons and other deadly arms across the border.
The legislation adds permanent resources that will continue to bolster security along the southwest border, supporting our efforts to crack down on transnational criminal organizations and reduce the trafficking of people, drugs, currency, and weapons.